Hey, what is going on guys? RvzStealth here, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at Viktor in patch 8.3. So Viktor's been in a really bad spot for, I think it's been at least over a year now. I can't even remember back to when Viktor was a top tier pick in the mid lane, and with recent changes over the past few patches, people have kind of started to innovate a little bit with Viktor here, and we're going to take a look at this new build and new playstyle in this video that a lot of high elo Viktor players are starting to use now in patch 8.3. So first off here, we're gonna take a look at the runes that a lot of high elo Viktor players are using, and then after that, we'll take a look at the build. So as for the runes on Viktor, this is the page that Dunn is running. If you don't know who he is, he's the best Viktor player in NA, and this is also the page that a lot of other like pro players are using on Viktor right now. I know that Jensen and Bjergsen have also been running this page on their Viktor. So you're gonna be taking Fleet Footwork as your keystone on Viktor. Now the reason you want to do this is because Fleet Footwork actually synergizes really nicely with Viktor's kit. It allows him to kite even better. It gives him a little bit of sustain in the laning phase. Once you do reach the mid to late game, the heal from it is actually pretty nice because it does have an AP ratio on it. The synergy between the Fleet Footwork movement speed, your Q upgraded movement speed, and celerity is also really nice. So what players are doing is they're taking celerity as one of their secondary runes, and then it does add a little bit of extra damage there to your full combo. You're going to be gaining a ton of bonus movement speed, so the celerity synergy there is really nice. And then by taking the precision tree on Viktor here, it does allow you to run Presence of Mind, and this does help Viktor out a lot in the early game because if possible, you want to try to stay in lane for your first Hex Core upgrade, and by taking the Presence of Mind, it allows you to sustain mana a lot better in the early game, and it allows Viktor to get to his first Hex Core a little bit easier. And then for the build on Viktor in this patch, what more and more people are starting to run now is they're still going for the full Hex Core upgrade. That hasn't changed for this patch, but for the second and third items on Viktor, a lot of people are starting to go Abyssal Mask and Iceborn Gauntlet. So there are quite a few different reasons as to why this build does work really well on Viktor, so we're gonna break that down here. The first reason is that Viktor did get a buff to his Q in this patch to where once you upgrade your Q now, the shield that you get from it is increased by 60%. And the reason to why this synergizes nicely with this new build is that once you finish your Iceborn Gauntlet and your Abyssal Mask, you're also going to grab CDR boots. You're going to have 40% CDR there, and your Q is going to be on a 2-second cooldown. Now with your Q on a 2-second cooldown and with that extra shield you're now going to be getting, you're going to have a shield every 2 seconds on Viktor, and he becomes this really good DPS champion in the mid game who's also super hard to kill. Another reason to why this build works really well is because your kiting potential is insanely good. With Fleet Footwork, with your Q movement speed, and then with the slow from Iceborn Gauntlet, if the enemy team does not have a few champions with super long range gap closers or ways to get onto you easily, you're going to be able to kite them out insanely well in team fights, and it's going to be very hard for the enemy team to actually reach you during a team fight if you can pilot your Viktor well. And then lastly here, this build is just a lot more forgiving than if you were to go a full AP glass cannon Viktor. Viktor is very similar to someone like Ryze or Cassiopeia in the sense that you do need to get really up close in order to deal your damage, and that's kind of why you see Ryze and Cassiopeias go for an Abyssal Mask a lot of the time. If you want to deal damage with Viktor, you are going to have to take damage a lot of the time in return. So by going for the Iceborn Gauntlet and the Abyssal Mask, even though you are going to deal as much burst damage in team fights, you are going to take a lot less damage, and you still are going to do some pretty good DPS damage with the champion. So if you do decide to try out this new playstyle, new build, and rune setup on Viktor, be sure to keep in mind that you're no longer really going to be able to burst with your full combo on him. You're not really playing off of your E and your ultimate with this build on Viktor. You're more so playing off of your Q's very short cooldown and the fact that you do have great kiting potential with this new setup. Don't be expecting to one-shot the enemy AD carry come mid to late game team fights. Play off of your Q's cooldown, look to do DPS damage during team fights, and you will find yourself having some pretty good success with this new setup. So that is going to be all for this video, guys. Hopefully you did find this pretty educational, and hopefully you do now realize why people are starting to go for this new tank build and new rune setup on Viktor in the mid lane. If you did enjoy the video, then be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you have yet to already. So thanks for watching, have an awesome day, and I will see you in my next video.